The predator false Karina was not like other aliens. She was trained from birth to hunt, kill, and never feel fear. Her skin was armored, her claws sharp, and her eyes could see in total darkness. Her name alone made enemy soldiers run. She was a predator, fast, deadly, and cold. But that day, something went wrong. Her ship was hit. A surprise attack. Fire spread across the control panel. She tried to steer, but the ship spun out of control. With a loud crash, it fell into the jungle of a death world below. Karina woke up inside wreckage. Smoke filled her lungs. Her right arm was bleeding, a deep wound that refused to close. Her leg was broken. She dragged herself out of the burning metal and fell onto the soft grass. The jungle around her was wild and hot. Strange birds screamed. The trees were thick and twisted like they were alive. Everything here wanted to kill. It was a place even her people feared. She crawled forward, gasping. No backup, no signal, no medicine. She was alone and weak. Suddenly, she saw a shape between the trees. Tall, 2 legs, no armor. A human. Karina's heart jumped. A human? Here? Impossible. She tried to raise her claws, to hiss, to scare him, but her body didn't listen. She was too weak. The human stepped closer. His face was calm, his eyes steady. He looked down at her, frowning. Not in hate, but concern. Karina whispered, "Kill me, if you dare." The human didn't speak. He knelt beside her and looked at her wound. Then, something shocking happened. He picked her up. Eli had lived, alone for years on this jungle planet. He was an ex-soldier, a survival expert, and wanted peace. But peace didn't come easily on this world. He knew every trap, every beast, every poisonous plant. He had seen strange things in his time, but never this. An alien woman, half dead, armored, dangerous, and still proud. He brought her to his shelter, a small wooden hut built with his own hands. He laid her on a mat and started cleaning her wound with care. She growled even in pain. He didn't flinch. She was burning with fever. Her body was shaking. But Eli worked in silence, wrapping the wound with herbs and cloth. He gave her water, then sat nearby, sharpening a knife, just in case. Karina opened her eyes later that night. The pain was still there, but less. The room was warm, and she wasn't tied up. She was free, but weak. She stared at the human. He looked back at her. "Why?" she asked. "You were hurt," he answered simply. "I would have killed you," she said coldly. "I know." Silence. Outside, something howled. A large predator moved past the hut. Karina could smell it. A creature that could rip through walls. But it didn't attack. It walked away. She was surprised. This human must be more than he looked. In the morning, Karina tried to stand. Her leg shook. She almost fell, but Eli caught her. She slapped his hand away, growling. "I don't need help." "Sure," Eli said, not arguing. He turned away and began cooking something over the fire. The smell reached Karina's nose. Strange, but warm. She hadn't eaten in days. Her pride screamed no, but her stomach growled yes. She watched him from the corner of her eye. He didn't watch her. Back, he just placed a bowl of soup near her and walked outside. She waited until he was gone. Then, she grabbed the bowl and ate fast. Her claws trembled. What was happening to her? Karina had faced many things: death, war, monsters. But this was new. A human who showed no fear. A man who helped her without chains, without tricks. She didn't understand him, and deep inside, that scared her more than death. She lay back down, her arms still aching, but her heart confused. For the first time in her life, the predator wasn't sure who she was anymore. The first touch, Karina did not sleep that night. She lay still, pretending to rest, but her golden eyes watched the shadows. Her body ached, but something else kept her awake. Not pain, not fear, curiosity. The human had touched her, not with violence, not with fear, but with warmth. Her kind believed humans were wild, emotional, and careless. But this one, Eli, was quiet, calm, and strange. She remembered his hands, rough but gentle, the way he cleaned her wound. He didn't even wear armor. Was he stupid or fearless? She hated how that touch stayed in her memory. Morning came. The sun pushed through the cracks of the wooden hut. Birds screamed outside, and steam rose from the ground. The jungle never rested. Karina sat up slowly. Her muscles hurt, but her body had already begun to heal. Her alien biology was strong. Her kind were built to survive. But something inside her felt soft. She hated that even more. Her sharp ears heard movement outside. She crawled to the doorway and peered out. Eli was training. Alone. He moved with a long metal staff, spinning it with perfect control. Each strike was fast and smooth. He wasn't fighting anyone, yet every motion was sharp, precise like a soldier. Karina narrowed her eyes. He had skill. Real skill, not just some jungle farmer. This human had seen war. But then, why live out here? Later, he returned with fruits, roots, and fresh water. He said nothing to her. Not even a look. He just placed the supplies beside her and walked off again. Karina hated being ignored. She had once broken a warrior's jaw for looking away too quickly, but now, she didn't move. She just watched. Later that day, her bandage started to bleed again. She looked at it, angry, frustrated, helpless. Eli saw. He walked over without a word and knelt beside her. "Don't touch me," she growled. He looked at her steady. "Then do it yourself." He placed the clean cloth and herbs beside her and stood. She glared at him, then at the herbs, then at her bloody arm. With one claw, she picked up the cloth. Her hand shook. After a moment, she gave up. Her pride cracked, but not her voice. "Fine. Do it, but quickly." Eli knelt again and began wrapping her wound. For the first time, Karina didn't flinch. He worked in silence. His hands were careful. She looked at his face. There was no fear, no hate, no pleasure. Just focus. She spoke quietly, without meaning to. "You act like I'm not a threat." "You're not right now," he replied. "What if I get stronger tomorrow?" He shrugged. "Then I'll be ready tomorrow." That answer made her silent. That evening, the jungle roared with thunder. A storm was coming. Karina sat inside the hut wrapped in a warm cover. She hated how her body liked the comfort. Eli lit a small fire. He didn't speak. She finally asked, "Why do you live here, human?" He stared into the flame. "Too much noise out there," he said. "Too many people. Too many lies." "And you think this place is better?" "It's honest," he said. "If something wants to kill you, it tries. No pretending." Karina looked at him. For once, she understood something human. That night, she had a dream. Screams. Fire. Her training. As a child, she was forced to kill another girl her age to prove loyalty. She woke up shaking. Her claws were drawn, sweat running down her forehead, and then she saw him. Eli, sitting in the corner, calm, watching. "You were dreaming," he said. She wiped, her face quickly angry. "You were watching me sleep?" "No," he replied. "I was watching in case you screamed." "I don't scream," she snapped. "You just did." Silence. Then, to her own surprise, she whispered, "I hate this planet." Eli didn't laugh. He just nodded and said, "Yeah, me too." Outside, the storm howled. Inside, a predator sat quietly beside a human. And for the first time in her life, Karina didn't feel alone. Growls and Soup Karina did not trust the quiet. Silence in her world was always a lie. In her military training, calm meant ambush. Peace meant danger. Smiles meant a trap. But now she sat in silence. Not on a battlefield, not behind a plasma wall, but in a small wooden shelter, built by a human, the same human who gave her food, who healed her wound, who didn't ask anything in return, and that made her uneasy. She was trained to hate humans. But Eli didn't fit the enemy she imagined. That morning, she woke up before sunrise. Her senses had returned fully. Her wounds were almost closed. Her legs still hurt, but she could move. She stood up slowly and stepped outside. The jungle was alive. Giant insects buzzed. Strange birds screamed. The air was wet and heavy. She saw Eli crouched near a tree, cooking something in a black pot over a fire. He didn't look at her. "You're moving better," he said calmly. "I heal fast," she replied coldly. He nodded. "Good." Then he handed her a bowl. Steam rose from it. "Soup." She stared at it like it was poison. "What is it?" "Roots. Berries. Wild lizard meat," he said. "Nothing that'll kill you. Probably." She raised an eyebrow. "You're joking." Eli didn't laugh. "Yes, I'm joking." Karina didn't take the bowl. She turned and walked back into the hut. 10 minutes passed. The scent followed her. Her stomach growled. Loud. She cursed under her breath. Then, when no one was looking, she returned outside and picked up the bowl. She took one sip, then another. She finished the whole thing. The warmth stayed in her chest, long after the bowl was empty. Later, Eli found her sitting on a log near the hut. Her back was straight, her eyes alert. "I thought you didn't eat human food," he said. "I didn't eat your food," she replied. "Ah," he said. "Must have been the wind." She gave him a look, a sharp one. But she didn't argue. That was new for her. She started watching him more closely, the way he walked quietly, the way he checked the perimeter every night, the way he fixed broken tools with limited supplies. He wasn't just surviving here, he was thriving. No army, no backup, no help. Just one human, and his mind. That evening, Karina found a knife near the fire. Not sharp, not clean, just lying there. She picked it up and began carving a piece of wood. Eli noticed. "You know how to make traps?" he asked. She nodded. "Better than you," he smiled. "Want a bet?" She smirked. A small one, almost invisible, but it was the first smile she'd made in years. As night fell, the jungle roared again. Far off, they heard something massive scream. Trees shook. Something big was hunting. Karina stood, tense, her claws extended. Eli didn't move. He stirred the fire and added more wood. "You're calm," she said. "I've lived through worse." She sat beside him. "I haven't." He looked at her, surprised. Karina's voice dropped. "All my life I was told to be a weapon. Never stop, never rest, never feel." Eli didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Sounds lonely." Karina didn't reply, but she didn't leave either. That night she didn't sleep inside the hut. She sat outside by the fire, close enough to feel the heat, not for protection, not for safety, but maybe for company. For once the silence didn't feel like a trap. It felt like peace. The scar that wasn't physical Karina stood by the stream, staring at her reflection in the water. For the first time in her life, she didn't recognize the face. Looking back, the golden eyes were still sharp, the jawline still fierce, the battle scars still visible. But the expression? It was soft, almost peaceful. She hated that, because peace to her meant forgetting, and Karina didn't want to forget what she was trained to be. Eli watched her from a distance, sitting on a rock, repairing a broken sensor. He didn't ask questions, not because he didn't care, but because he knew she wasn't ready to answer, and she respected that more than she wanted to admit. She returned to the hut, where he had left some tools out. She picked up a small blade, old, dull but balanced. She started sharpening it, slowly, carefully. Eli walked over and sat across from her. "Looks like you're getting stronger," he said. She didn't look up. I was never weak. He nodded. No. But you were broken. Karina froze. Her hand tightened on the blade. Her breathing slowed. And then she spoke without thinking. I was 6 when they made me fight. Eli stayed silent. My first kill was a boy 2 years older than me. They put us in a pit. No weapons. No way out. Only one could live. She looked at him now. I won. They cheered. My parents didn't even blink. She waited for him to flinch, to look disgusted or afraid, but he didn't. Eli simply said, "That wasn't your fault." Karina blinked. No one had ever said that before. That night she didn't sleep again. Not because of pain, not because of nightmares, but because her mind wouldn't stop replaying Eli's words. That wasn't your fault. She remembered the faces of the ones she killed, the way she was praised for blood, how medals were given after every mission, and how none of them ever felt like victories. Eli saw through her armor, not the one on her body, the one around her soul. The next day, she noticed something strange. Her claws had started to grow dull. She hadn't sharpened them in days. For the first time in her life, it didn't seem urgent. Instead, she asked Eli how to make fire without tech. He showed her, patiently, like a teacher, and she listened, patiently, like a student. In the evening, they sat beside the fire again. No danger. No storm. Just quiet. Karina was the one to speak this time. You could have left me to die. Yeah, Eli replied. Why didn't you? He took a breath. Because someone once saved me when I didn't deserve it. She looked at him. So this was about balance? He shook his head. No, it was about choice. Karina stared at the flames. I've never had a choice, she whispered. You do now. The next morning, she walked deep into the jungle, alone, not to hunt, not to scout, just to breathe. She climbed a tree and looked over the canopy. The sky was pink and gold. The wind smelled like fruit and fire. For once, she didn't feel like a soldier, not a killer, not a tool, just Karina, whoever that was. But peace never lasted long. As she returned to the hut, she heard a sound, a noise she hadn't heard in days. Metal, engines, her people. A scout drone hovered above the trees, scanning the area. Fast, silent, Karina ducked behind a boulder. The drone moved past her, but only just. She knew what this meant. They were looking for her. And if they found Eli, they would not forgive him for helping her. She returned to the hut at full speed. Eli was outside, cutting wood. They're coming, she said. He paused. Your people? She nodded. He looked into her eyes. Will you go back with them? Karina looked away. I don't know. But deep inside, a feeling was rising. Not fear, not loyalty, but something even more dangerous. The will to choose her own future. Claws versus compassion. Karina stood at the edge of the trees, her heart beating louder than the jungle around her. She had always believed her people would bring her comfort, safety, power. But as she watched the dropship land in a clearing nearby, all she felt was dread. 3 warriors stepped out, her former squad mates, trained like her, cold like her, but not changed like her. They were here to take her back, or erase her. Eli stood behind her, watching calmly, a weapon slung across his back. Don't have to face them alone, he said. Karina shook her head. This is between me and them. She stepped forward, but Eli didn't move away. She turned her head. Why are you still standing there? He looked at her and simply said, Because I know you won't stand against me. The 3 warriors approached. Their armor was heavier than hers. Their eyes were cold. The leader, Sethan, spoke first. Karina, you were marked dead. Yet here you are. With a human. Karina crossed her arms. He saved me. Sethan's mouth twitched. Not a smile. A warning. You were our best. a blade sharper than all others. Now look at you, eating soup with savages. Karina's voice was low. That savage did more for me than any of you ever did. The second warrior, a female named Krell, stepped forward. We're not here to debate. You're coming with us. Orders from command. And if I don't? Karina asked. Then we make sure your body finally matches your report. Deceased in action. Eli moved beside her now, holding his ground. Sithan scoffed. You protect him? Karina nodded. With everything I have, the three raised their weapons. Karina didn't move. Not away. Not behind Eli. She stepped in front of him. You taught me to survive, she said to her old team. To be a killer. A tool. A thing. But he taught me to be a person. Scythen's finger twitched on the trigger. You're lost. No, she said. I'm finally found. The first shot came fast. Too fast for a warning. Karina moved quicker. She spun and knocked the blaster aside with her forearm. The energy bolt hit a tree, exploding bark everywhere. Krell lunged at her. Karina ducked, rolled, and swept Krell's leg out with one smooth motion. The third soldier attacked Eli. Karina leapt between them, claws drawn. Not to kill, to protect. For the first time in her life, her claws were not for war. They were for compassion. The fight was fast and brutal. Karina moved like lightning, but her strikes were controlled. She could have ended it. Easily. Instead, she disarmed. Them knocked them unconscious and stood tall, breathing hard. Blood ran from her lip. A burn mark sizzled on her side, but her eyes were steady. Her heart steady. Eli walked to her side. She didn't look at him right away. She was still processing what she'd done. She had turned against her people. For him. For herself. You okay? He asked quietly. I don't know, she said. But I chose. That's what matters. She looked down at the blaster still in Scythen's hand. She kicked it away. Then she took a deep breath. They'll send more, Eli nodded. Then we'll be ready. That night, she didn't sit beside the fire. She sat with Eli, shoulder to shoulder. Not a prisoner, not a soldier, just Karina. Warrior with a heart, a killer with mercy, a fierce alien girl who learned how to protect instead of destroy. The gentle warrior. Rain fell quietly over the jungle. Not a storm, just a soft drizzle that touched the trees like a whisper. Karina sat outside the hut, face turned up to the sky, letting the water wash over her. She didn't move. Didn't speak. She just breathed. For the first time, the silence in her chest didn't feel like a weapon waiting to be used. It felt like space. Space to grow. Inside the hut, Eli moved carefully, placing new herbs on the shelf and checking the traps. He had seen her fight. He had seen her bleed. But now he watched something far more powerful. He watched her heal. Not just her body, but her soul. When the others attacked days ago, he expected her to respond with rage, like a wild blade. Instead, she had fought like a guardian, precise, controlled. Fierce, yes, but not cruel. He saw it in the way she knocked weapons aside instead of killing, in the way she stood in front of him without hesitation. The galaxy might still fear her, but he no longer did, because now she was something greater than a warrior. She was gentle. Karina came inside, water dripping from her armored skin. I rebuilt the traps, she said. Eli nodded. Thanks. She sat across from him, stretching her sore leg. They'll come again, he agreed. Probably with more firepower. She stared into the flame of the small cooking fire. Let them come. Eli raised an eyebrow. Confident? No, she said, prepared. That night, Karina did something strange. She cooked. The soup didn't taste great. It was too thick, too spicy. The meat was chewy. Eli coughed halfway through the bowl. Karina smirked. Soft human tongue. He grinned. Death by alien stew. What a noble end. She actually laughed. A real one. Rough and sharp, but real. After dinner, Karina took out her claws, but not to sharpen them. She used them to carve symbols into a piece of dark wood, her people's old writing, stories of blood and battle. But this time she wrote something different, a symbol for choice, a symbol for change, a symbol for peace. She placed the carving on the wall of the hut. Eli noticed. New decoration? She nodded. A reminder. Later, as they prepared for sleep, Eli asked quietly, "What will you do if they send your whole squadron next time?" Karina didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "I'll fight. But not to kill." Eli looked at her, surprised. "Then for what?" Karina's eyes met his. "To protect this. You, me. Everything I never knew I needed." She stood and walked outside again. The moon was rising above the trees. She looked up and whispered something in her native tongue. Prayer? A goodbye? Even she didn't know. All she knew was that the killer who had once called herself Karina was gone, and in her place was something new. Still strong, still sharp, but no longer angry, no longer lost. She was still a warrior, but now she was gentle, a new home, a new Karina. The morning came with no warning, no birds, no sounds, just still air. Karina opened her eyes. She knew they had come. Above the jungle, a dark ship hovered, black, silent, deadly. It cast a long shadow over the forest, and every animal scattered as if nature itself was afraid. Karina stood at the hut's doorway, already armored, not in the old way, not with rage or hate, but with purpose. Eli came up beside her. "How many?" She scanned the skies. "More than before. Maybe a full squad." He didn't flinch. "We can run." She shook her head. "Not this time." "You sure?" Karina turned to him, eyes calm, voice steady. "I'm not running from who I've become." The dropship landed with a low growl. This time no soldiers charged out. Instead, a single tall figure stepped forward. Black robes, silver medals, cold eyes, Commander Threx, Karina's old commanding officer, the one who turned her into a weapon. He stopped a few feet from her and looked her up and down. "You look well," he said. "I feel alive," she replied. He didn't smile. "You broke protocol. You resisted recovery. You fought your own." "I found myself." "Don't be foolish," he snapped. "We didn't train you to feel. We trained you to kill." Karina tilted her head. "Then maybe you trained the wrong creature." Threx's hand moved. Soldiers appeared behind him. 6, armored, silent. "You will come with us," he said, "or we take you, and burn everything behind you." He looked at Eli. Karina stepped forward. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't shake. "You can kill me, but you won't touch him." Threx raised a hand. "That human corrupted you." Karina replied, "No, he healed me." One soldier aimed his weapon. Eli reached for his blaster, but Karina raised a hand. "No," she said. "Let me speak." She walked forward, alone. "Commander," she said louder now, for all to hear, "I am not your tool, not your project, not your soldier. I am Karina, and I choose my own path." Threx's eyes narrowed. "Then your blood will stain this soil." He raised his arm, the order to fire, and then nothing happened. The soldiers behind him did not move. One by one, they lowered their weapons. One of them even stepped back. Karina blinked. They weren't following him anymore. Threx turned, furious. "You cowards, obey me!" But the lead soldier spoke. "We followed her once because she earned it. You only controlled us." Karina stepped beside Eli now. She didn't need to fight. Her words were stronger than war. Threx hissed and charged forward alone. But Karina didn't flinch. She caught his strike mid-air, spun him around, and slammed him to the ground. She didn't kill him. She looked into his eyes and said, "I pity you." Then she stepped away. The soldiers took Threx back into the ship. No one stopped her. No one questioned her. They had seen the truth, not just of her power, but of her change. When the dropship rose again, the jungle returned to peace. Karina stood with Eli watching the sky clear. He said nothing. She said nothing. But the silence was full of meaning. That evening, Karina planted something in the soil near the hut. Not a weapon, not a signal beacon, but a small alien seed she had kept from her homeworld. It grew fast, blue leaves glowing in the dark. Eli knelt beside her. "What is it?" She smiled. "Hope." She looked around at the trees, the hut, the fire, the stars. This planet had once been a prison. Now it was her home. She wasn't running anymore, not from orders, not from pain, not from herself. Karina had once been a fierce alien predator. Now, she was something far stronger, a gentle warrior. And this time the galaxy would remember her name not in fear, but in honor.